Guerschon Yabusele has been one of the few bright spots in an otherwise miserable Sixers season. However, the Sixers are faced with a really difficult decision, as it does seem unlikely they will be able to re-sign him this summer. So with that being said, in the season spiraling away as it currently is it the right move for the Sixers team to try and move on from Guerschon Yabusele and get something in return? I want to dive into Sam DiGiovanni of Clutch Points article breaking down a potential trade that could make sense for the Sixers and for Yabusele specifically, and kind of my overall thoughts on the situation as a whole. Now, to dive right into Yabu as a whole, he's been terrific this year, averaging 10.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, 1.9 assists, shooting almost 40% from three on real deal volume there. 50.7% from the field, still just 29 years old at 6'8", just straight up a great basketball player, a guy who does all the little things, who scraps, who's hungry, who competes his ass off every single possession there. I really have developed a fondness for Yabusele that I have not felt for a Sixers role player in several years to this point. I know that you can go down the history, the Mike Scott Hive, all these other names that you want to throw out there that had their moment of Sixers fandom. But for me, the way that Yabusele plays, I truly do believe that he is the perfect role player to have on every contender. And maybe that is why we're making the case that we have today. So to set the stage completely, we know the state of the Sixers, that on the season, they are in the 11th place in the Eastern Conference. They are multiple games below 500, and Joel Embiid, we have no clue who the next time he will be on the floor is. So with that said, and with their draft pick being top 6 protected, meaning that if it is one of the first 6 picks, the Sixers keep it. If not, it goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, is the right mindset to try and maximize things. So I'm going to pull up Sam's article now with the first mock trade that I want to discuss about Yabusele, titled 76ers Get Protected Pick Back from the Thunder. And the exact trade that he cooks up here is the Sixers receiving Ousmane Dieng and protections removed from the 2025 first-round pick in exchange for Guerschon Yabusele, Eric Gordon, the 2026 first-round pick, the least favorable, and a 2027 second. So this is not a nothing trade by any means. Yes, there's a lot of draft capital exchange, but this is 2 notable additions for the Sixers team. Ousmane Dieng is a guy I'm intrigued by, and I do believe that if he was in pretty much most other NBA teams, he's got a little bit more runway to play through his mistakes as a young player. He's very raw still, a guy coming into his own, but he is kind of a category of player that the Sixers don't have. He's rangy, he's athletic, he's big, he's got a little creation ability, can put the ball on the floor. He's basically, I would probably say, slots in as a small forward in the long haul, but kind of a positionless player to an extent there. So a guy that is interesting, and really the driving force of this is removing the first-round pick restriction, meaning wherever the Sixers end up on the season, as poorly or as great as that is, they will get possession of that first-round pick. And the article that what Sam writes here, he says, although Guerschon Yabusele has been extremely valuable for the 76ers, he's unlikely to stay beyond the season. The Sixers can easily get outbid by other teams, including the one in this trade, and they can't extend his contract. So they would be wise to try and get some future value for him ahead of the trade deadline. And Sam continues on to write, the 76ers would benefit tremendously from reacquiring their pick. After shipping it off to unload Al Horford's contract, and once again, if you need another reason to hate Al Horford, there it is, him and his wife/sister, or whoever the obnoxious Twitter account is. But it continues on, it's now looking like a top 10 selection. The pick is protected through the top 6 selections, but the Sixers probably won't be able to tank hard enough to guarantee that they keep it, or even if they even have a more of likelihood to keep it than convey it. For potential trades to add a high-level prospect, it's crucial that Philly obtains that pick. Yabusele would be a perfect addition to any championship hopeful's bench. The Thunder, who may have concerns about Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein's health, would add another player that could play both next to him and on his own at the center spot. Yabusele's passing smarts and scoring capabilities would help an OKC team that needs shooting and a little more on-ball juice on offense. Yabu won't be getting any isolations or asked to go create on his own, but off the short rolls and drives off catches, he can make stuff happen. And he continues on to write, since they run the risk of Yabusele leaving this offseason while surrendering what could be a top 10 pick, the Thunder would also get a protected 2026 first-rounder that could end up just being their own. This pick made its way to Philly in the James Harden trade and probably will be one of the last 3 picks in the first round. OKC would also get an additional second-round pick and receive Gordon for salary matching purposes. Dieng doesn't play much for the Thunder, but his size, mobility, and potential to improve would make him an intriguing flyer for the 76ers. The 6'9" forward turns just 22 years old in May and has ball handling, shooting, and playmaking capabilities. If they fully transfer to the NBA level, would make him a phenomenal, versatile role player. Couple different points I want to hit on here. For starters, I do have this kind of loyalty to Yabusele that I think I would only do this if it puts him in a good spot, and the Thunder do fit that description there. have him go compete for a championship, and he will be beloved out there in Oklahoma City. When you think about that team and how fun they are to watch, I mean, I'm recording this late Friday night at this point. I remember watching last night them just absolutely dominate that Cavaliers team, and the way that they play with the joyous basketball, that's Yabusele, man. He would fit exactly in, and I do think he would help that team. As I said before this, I think he's a perfect fit on any contender, and the Thunder are absolutely that. The team that I would argue are the title favorites at this point. And for the Sixers, when speaking about where this puts them, I do want to make note that there's pretty much not anything they can do to kind of put themselves in a competitive spot for Yabusele's contract. This has far more to do with the standard of you can't extend a guy or sign him for more than a certain percentage of his salary, and him coming to Philadelphia on the minimum is really limiting in that. And for Yabusele specifically, while I do think he likes it in Philadelphia, while ideally I think he would love to stick around if the opportunity was there, the reality is that he took a risk coming from France to the United States here, being a guy that had to pay himself out of the contract he was dealing with over there, that the intention, the entire game plan was to set him up for a massive payday this summer, and he's in the driver's seat for that spot here. So while I wish that he would just have this undying loyalty to Philadelphia and want to stay, we got to understand the business side of things. And a guy that, while he's not old at 29 years old, this isn't a dude who has forever to cash in on his NBA deals. He's got to strike while the iron's hot, and I do kind of understand that to an extent here. But to kind of continue from the Sixers' perspective here, they aren't loaded with future draft capital, and this is one of the reasons why they would want to attach that there. When you think about this Sixers team with no real confidence in when Joel Embiid or how often he'll be able to play basketball moving forward, there is an argument to be made that by recouping that pick, you can add a player that starts this next generation of Sixers basketball. The pairing of Tyrese Maxey and McCain is an excellent start, but you're not winning a championship with those two as just your top two there. There's things that you need to add, and in particular, when building around those two, you're going to have a pretty specific type of roster that you're going to have plus defenders who are capable of guarding bigger guys that Tyrese Maxey and McCain are going to get tested defensively. There is no way around that when you think about the playoff setting and how much that is a struggle, having two undersized guard is not going to be easy there. So you got to make up with this by surrounding them with these rangy athletic defenders that can make up with it. Now, granted, guys like Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre aren't the worst case scenario for this type of skill set, but there's certainly upper echelon guys that the Sixers should be looking to add if this is the game plan moving forward. And also to kind of note the full odds from the perspective that this is how things currently sit for the Sixers team. And to reflect exactly here, once again, the Sixers draft pick is top 6 protected. So if it falls in the first 6 selections, they keep it as currently constructed. Anything outside of that, it goes to the Thunder here. So their exact odds at the point of recording this here, they have a 6% chance at that 1 pick. Shout out Cooper Flagg. 6.3% at the second, 6.7% at the third, and 7.2% for the 4th pick there. No chance at the 5th or 6th pick or 7th pick. And then this is where it's most likely. They have a 34.5% chance at the 8th pick, 32.1% for 9, and then it drops beyond that. Now, granted, that will obviously change as the season progresses and more results come in here. Who knows if that'll increase or decrease? Frankly, I think it's a pretty even gamble based on how the Sixers sit currently. But the absolute worst case scenario for the Sixers team and what they should be trying desperately to avoid is if the season does bottom out and then that ends up as the 7th pick in the draft and goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder, this season was for absolutely nothing. You get nothing in return of that. And that is what the Sixers would be looking to be proactive in preventing by making a deal like this. So it would break my heart to move on from Guerschon Yabusele, but if this is a deal that accomplishes a lot of things like that, I do think this makes sense. So I think this is a great point by Sam DiGiovanni and a great written up article. Totally recommend his work. Does an excellent job covering the Sixers team. But I think these next couple weeks and how the Sixers, I guess, address the trade deadline, what their mindset going in is pretty much going to tell us everything we know about the state of the franchise moving forward. So it may get worse until it gets better. The Sixers are in for a tough road trip starting at this point of the video tonight. So we'll see how things go down from here. But I cannot believe we're at this point in the season this soon. So let me know what you guys think about that deal in the comments. As always, appreciate each and one of you guys tuning into this video here. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a like on this video, and I'll be back talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.